Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and podcast. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today, we are covering Sirach chapters 31 through 33.
Bam. We did it.
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
That was great. We're just so good at this now.
Yep.
So we are doing only 3 chapters today, but we have a lot of commentary. There's a lot of stuff to actually talk about here. And then this week we will be starting Song of Songs.
All right.
Yeah. On Sunday, that is what we will be doing.
You mean the Song of Solomon?
That also is the title it goes by, yes.
We're going to have to explain the difference in titles on that show.
We will.
Not on this show, though.
No. You're going to have to tune in on Sunday to see the explanation for that. Although before we introduce our translations and our commentaries and hop into the reading, one of you crazy bastards bought $450 worth of books off of our Amazon wish list. I don't know who it was yet, but that's awesome, and we love you.
Yes, you're wonderful. I don't know who it is, but whoever it is,
You're wonderful.
You're wonderful.
You are a legend.
Yep.
You will be written about in the annals of time.
You know that movie, I Am Legend? That was about you.
You are the legend. All right, anyways, we are reading some Ben Sirach today.
Yeah, I have the Anchor Bible version of the Wisdom of Ben Sirach, a new translation with notes by Patrick W. Scahan, introduction and commentary by Alexander A. Delela.
I have the Wisdom of Ben Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, and this is the translation by W.O.E. Osterley.
And published by
the Society for Promoting Christian Knowledge.
Wow. We also have Eerdman's commentary on the Bible.
We do, and we have the New Interpreter's Bible commentary.
Yep.
Here it is, this one right here.
So without further ado, I see there's a lot of textual notes on this chapter.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course, these commentaries only go over some of them, but I'm sure that one is more in depth.
All right. Well, actually, this is 31:12. 31.
You just need
starts
go to
back
31:1.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get started then.
I do have an introductory note to this.
Tell me.
I will. In this unit about the difficulty of being rich and also virtuous, Ben Sirach uses rhetorical questions and emphatic language that comes close in meaning to miracle. The prayer attributed to Agur in Proverbs 38 through 9, if you remember that, there was those couple prayers there that were attributed to some different people, and Agur was one of them, and we didn't really have too much to say on that at the time. So the prayer attributed to Agur in Proverbs 38 through 9 captures the danger inherent to the wealthy, a temptation to forget God as a result of deceptive self-sufficiency.
All right. Yeah, I recall.
Yeah. But also, this criticism of wealth was also common among Hellenistic authors of the time. Ben Sirach's understanding of riches was complicated by contradictory impulses. The destructive effect of pursuing money as if it were the ultimate thing in life, and the belief that God commanded the Israelite people to do works of charity by helping the needy. Extreme poverty, like excessive wealth, brought special temptations. Don't you like those special temptations?
I love special temptations.
Don't we all?
Yep. Well, there's
part of a healthy breakfast.
There's
Temptationos.
There's a
special
big textual
temptations
on these first 2 verses. So I'm going to read that after reading these first 2 verses.
Okay.
Wakefulness over riches wastes away the flesh. More than a serious illness, it washes out sleep. Big textual note. These verses are a nearly hopeless jumble. Before Greek and Syriac 42:9b and anxiety for it drives away sleep had already been imported here to become 31:1b, verse 31:2a in Greek. The anxiety of wakefulness drives away slumber is a tautology created before Greek to provide a new parallel to the sickness, now to be in the Greek. In Syriac, the wakefulness of the tautology becomes sustenance, which the medieval Hebrew offers as mihya, and carries back also into 31:1 to provide a noun instead of the vague pronoun attached to anxiety there. Manuscript B, one of them, then imports a line that plays on 22:2 for no other purpose than to illustrate another verb for drive away than the two incredible ones it already had in the 3 cola preceding. Here, the first colon of Greek has been kept as 31:1, and its fourth colon is 31:2. The corresponding Hebrew is in its 31:1a, 2b, where...
So it's a hopeless jumbled mix.
Yep.
Yes, it is a hopeless jumbled mix. That's basically the point. The rich labors to pile up wealth, and if he rests, it is to enjoy pleasure. The poor toils for a meager subsistence, and if he ever rests, he finds himself in want.
Yeah, so these two verses, obviously show that there's a common activity between the rich and the poor, that being toiling.
Yeah. Which we learn in Ecclesiastes is completely
meaningless.
The lover of gold will not be free from sin. Whoever pursues profit is led astray by it.
So in verse 5, the subject turns naturally. In verse 5, the word justified is perhaps used in a theological sense, but it is better to unpack the term and translate will never be free from sin. Yeah, so justified pops up in some English translations.
All right. Justified. Many have they been who were entrapped by gold, who put their confidence in corals. Nice alliteration there. This is a stumbling block for fools. By it, any simpleton will be ensnared.
Yeah, so the stumbling block has been used a lot throughout all of biblical literature. So it's initially attractive, but it trips you up if you're not careful.
Happy the rich found without fault, who turns not aside after wealth. Who is he that we may praise him? He of all his kindred has done wonders, for he has been tested by gold and come off safe, and this remains his glory. He could have gone wrong, but did not, could have done evil, but would not, so that his possessions are secure, and the assembly recounts his praises.
So there is a good amount of notes here. So pretty much for each verse you just read off, 9 through 11 there. Mm-hmm. So verse 9 probably expresses irony following an unlikely blessing, one pronounced on a non-existent entity. The next verse, verse 10, suggests that only one who has withstood the ethical test that comes with a fortune has the right to boast, for others do not know how they would deal with the temptation. And the final verse alludes to the practice of proclaiming aloud the names of benefactors in the gathered assembly or in writing on the walls of synagogues.
Mountain pagodas. That's what you put your money in.
And this next section, we might have some stuff to say about this just personally. Here's some stuff on etiquette.
Mm-hmm. We are in a new section here. Are you seated at a banquet table?
No.
Bring to it no greedy gullet. Say not, what a spread this is. Remember, gluttony is a bad thing. God hates the eye's greed. Was ever any creature greedier That is why it shifts with everything it sees and sends tears streaming down the face.
So, this is...
I remember something, I think, in Proverbs where it talked about eating properly, not like overeating.
Yeah, there's definitely that in Proverbs. Actually, the New Interpreter's Bible Commentary notes that. But furthermore, Ben Sira's remarks came at a time when Greco-Roman banquets were notorious occasions for gluttony. Yeah. So in context, there's a lot of gluttonous banquets in the region, and he's like, no, look at how horrible this is.
Yeah, you can't even look at it greedily. And like,
honestly, you are seated at a banquet table in one way or another.
This is not a banquet table. Who would have a banquet at this table?
I'm going to have one later.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Well, just to prove you wrong.
That is literally the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So, like, the eye here is greedy. The greediest creature that exists is the eyes.
Well, I mean, like, you're looking at it lustfully, you know? Not in, like, a sexual way, but still lustfully. You really, really want it.
I guess. Recognize that your neighbor feels as you do, and keep in mind your own dislikes. And follow the golden rule. Toward what he is looking at, do not put out a hand, nor reach when he does for the same dish.
Yeah, so it actually, in a way, it is kind of like a golden rule, but for the table.
Yeah.
Because, like, you shouldn't grab it if, like, everyone else is like, hey, I'm going to have a piece of that. And you're like, no, this is mine.
Yeah. No, it's mine. Keep away.
No, it's his.
Shoo.
Eat like anyone else what lies before you, and be not rapacious, lest you become loathed. No picky eaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, if someone's like, I don't like the texture of the lettuce, you're going to be reposed.
Yeah, I mean, that is... Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, and I got over it.
Lest you become loathed. You'll be loathed for not accepting the Taco Bell lettuce texture.
Pretty
Like,
bad.
could you cut it differently for me, please?
No, could you not include it at all? Okay, thanks.
Be the first to stop, as befits good manners. Gorge not yourself, lest you be despised. If there are many with you at the table, be not the first to reach out your hand. I guess if everyone followed this rule, there would be a problem.
The food would just get cold.
Yeah. Does not a little suffice for a well-bred person? When he lies down, it is without wheezing. A well-bred person.
What verse is that?
19.
19.
I'm going to see if there's a note in here.
Someone who doesn't have, like, misfunctioning lungs, maybe. I don't know.
Of a truth, a little sufficeth for a sensible man. Then on his bed he needeth not to groan. And there's really no actual commentary on that yet. We do have, like, a piece of commentary later that's more interesting, but nothing on that. At least that I have.
Moderation is not only as a mark of a well-bred person, literally a person of understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Bilious distress and loss of sleep and restlessness tossing for the glutton. Moderate eating ensures sound slumber and a clear mind next day on rising. There's a bunch of little notes here.
Yeah, apparently about he riseth in the morning refreshed. Literally his soul is with him. After verse 20, the Hebrew adds 6 lines, but they are greatly mutilated.
Yeah, there were doublets for both verses in manuscript B. Much of the text for these is eaten away in the manuscript.
Yeah, that does tend to happen.
But there were just doublets. Doesn't matter. If perforce you have eaten too much, once you have emptied your stomach, you will have relief.
So that does sound not too great. Because emptying your stomach, you're vomiting. That's what you're doing. Because you feel bad that you ate so much. What does that sound like to you?
Bulimia.
Yeah, that sounds like bulimia nervosa.
So in context, the suggestion that one get up and vomit seems better suited as a relief from indigestion than advice during meals to excuse oneself long enough to vomit so as to continue eating everything provided by the host.
Ben Sira's advice sounds earthy, but is practical nonetheless. There is no point in getting sick after unintended overindulgence in food and drink. And even if one was a glutton, it's still better to avoid illness by vomiting. Ben Sira, however, is not urging the disgusting custom practiced by wealthy Romans of a person using an emetic to induce vomiting after he is overeaten so that he may continue to eat some more.
Oh, you were just saying that.
The modern version of this practice, which is called bulimia, often has disastrous results for health.
Yeah.
Yep. Listen to me, my son, and scorn me not. Later you will find my advice good. In whatever you do, be moderate, and no addiction will afflict you.
Yeah, we've seen that the talk of just everything in moderation quite a lot, especially when they're wrestling with the idea of being rich and good.
Mm-hmm. On a person generous with food, blessings are invoked, and this testimony to his goodness is lasting. Whoever is miserly with food is denounced in public, and this testimony to his stinginess is lasting. Let not wine drinking be the proof of your strength, for wine has been the ruin of many. As the forge probes the work of the swordsmith, so does wine the hearts of the insolent.
Yeah, so wine is cool, but in moderation.
Wine is very life to humans if taken in due measure. Does one really live who lacks the wine which was created from the first for his joy?
Yeah, so rhetorical question there. Like, can you really be said to be living without wine?
This reminds me of
I
Kohala.
really likes it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no. You teetotalers who are like, God doesn't want you to get drunk, so you're not going to drink wine.
I mean, according to Sirach, he's okay with it, just not too much. Don't go overboard, because we know what happens when you get too drunk.
Yep.
This is a beer or wine ad, and they have that little remark at the end.
Yeah.
Drink responsibly.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm always reminded of that South Park episode where they have the drinking and then like the sex and drugs ad. Like they're just like sex, drugs, you fucking this girl, and then like they ramble off a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
And then at the end it's like drink responsibly.
Joy of heart, good cheer, and delight is wine enough drunk at the proper time. Headache, wormwood, and disgrace is wine drunk amid anger and strife. More and more wine is a snare for the fool. It lessens his strength and multiplies his wounds. Rebuke not your neighbor when wine is served, nor put him to shame while he is merry. Use no harsh words with him, and distress him not in the presence of others.
Yeah, so if you're talking to a drunk person, you got to talk to a drunk person in a certain way.
Mm.
Otherwise, it could cause a lot of trouble. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've had that happen to us, where we had just someone ridiculously drunk and we had to calm them the fuck down.
Yeah, that's happened.
Yeah.
How about Aaron?
Yeah, I guess
Aaron was pretty drunk.
Yeah, he was pretty drunk, but we didn't have to like. He wasn't getting
He
like
was worried
belligerent.
about his career being ruined.
That's true. He was, but he
He's
wasn't
too
being
worried
like,
about it, man.
He wasn't being belligerent or anything.
Nah, you didn't like burn the Bible on stream.
No. Instead, we went to
Through 2 mics. We went through 2 mics.
Yeah, I know. But we also just went to BD's Mongolian Grill afterwards, which was delicious.
We're not sponsored.
We're not, but it was delicious.
That's the end of chapter 31.
That's what you get. You get chapter 31, but you also happen to get chapter 32. And the sections are kind of mixed together, so I'm sure you can.
Yep, wonderful.
Yeah. Anyways, how about we hop into that chapter then, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me find it. 32. Yeah, there we go. 32.
So about this section, apparently there's some banqueting talked about here.
Yeah.
Hellenistic banquets, symposia, were governed by a strict set of rules. A banquet master was selected for the occasion and may have worn a wreath of flowers. See also 2 Maccabees 2:27, wreath of flowers. Musical entertainment was provided, and senior guests displayed their wisdom. Only occasionally were younger guests expected to speak, and that quite briefly.
So listen to the elders
Mm.
occasionally, only when they have
Adult
something
Swim.
good to say. Anyways. Have they made the ruler of the feast? Be not lifted up. Be unto them as one of themselves. Consider them first, and then take thy seat. Of course, being the host.
Mm.
Prepare for their wants first, and then recline, that thou mayest rejoice in their glory, and enjoy esteem for thy well ordering. So be a good host,
Mm.
and
you'll reap the rewards.
of seeing them enjoy themselves.
Yep.
That was a lot of exalted language for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Speak, O elder, for this is thy part, yet with discerning discretion, and hinder not the singing. So speak at the appropriate time, and we kind of discussed that before, right? In it was in Kohelet, right? Ecclesiastes,
Yeah, I think
about
so.
there was a proper time for everything.
Yeah, and time to.
I don't think this is quite.
Yeah, it's not that.
It's a time to X and a time to Y. It's a time to X and a time to X plus 1.
That also works. Anyways,
So senior people should speak, but only relevantly, and they should not interrupt the music provided. In other words, behave tactfully.
yeah, tactfully. But young people, you don't gotta worry about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the music beginneth, pour not forth talk, and display not thy wisdom when it is not wanted. I mean, yeah, it's like nobody asked you kind of thing.
Mm.
Well, that reminds me of a long, elaborate
Nobody
story.
asked you.
Oh, no.
As a signet of cornelian in a golden necklace, so is good music at a banquet of wine. A setting of gold and an emerald signet is the strain of music at pleasant wine drinking. Speak, young man, if thou art constrained to do so. If asked twice or even thrice, sum up thy speech. Say much in little. Be as one who knoweth and can keep silent.
So it's a little different here. It says, young man, speak only when necessary, when they have asked you more than once.
That is a little bit different, yes. But okay, so the young people can only speak when they're spoken to. And
Multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times. And then, even then, they have to be concise.
Okay.
Among elders, assert not thyself, and among the noble, be not perpetually talking. Before hail speedeth the lightning, And before the shamefast speedeth favor. Now, I think there's a different rendering for that.
There's a different rendering. Like the lightning that flashes before a hailstorm is the esteem that shines on modesty. There's commentary on this.
I'm sure there is. It's a very strange...
Yeah.
Strange simile.
Verse 10 poses a problem. We can appreciate how approval by good reputation goes before one who is modest. But how is this like lightning traveling ahead of thunder? Ooh, this has ahead of thunder instead of hailstorm. Delela thinks it describes the modest youth who receives immediate and deserving recognition. Modest meaning creates a good impression on immediate impact. What?
I'm sure they cite a page for that too.
No,
that's a bummer.
No, they don't cite a page, but you know what they do? They say it's Delela.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
And lucky for us, we have it.
Yep. So Delela here says... The 2 col of 32.9 are synonymous parallelism. The esteem or grace that shines on modesty may be compared to the brilliance and swiftness of the lightning that flashes before a hailstorm, i.e., the modest youth receives immediate and dazzling recognition.
So they receive recognition if they generally stay quiet and can speak concisely, but only when spoken to multiple times.
Yes.
Okay.
If you play by the rules, you get a piece of candy at the end.
Yeah, you get a piece of candy. At the time of departure, be not the last. Depart home, and be done with thy pleasure. At the time of rising from table, multiply not words. Now that one's bracketed off. In like a different set of brackets than everything else. Oh, okay. So there's a note here. I'm going to get through verse 12 and then say it.
Yeah, well, there's a note here.
Great.
That says the Sirach diverges widely with about the same amount of text where Greek has 4 cola for 11 and 12. Manuscript B has 6 cola, 2 of which are an identical conflation of elements from 11a and 12a. Only Greek has recognizable continuity.
Okay, yeah. So for verses 11 and 12, Osterley just notes that they are confused through variance, and the lines marked in these brackets should be omitted. So at the time of rising from table, multiply not words. That's the first one. And then, so in verse 12, but if aught cometh into thine heart, speak. And then this next part is should be omitted according to Osterley. Depart home and be done with thy pleasure. Yeah.
The final 3 verses of the poem are applicable to all guests at a banquet. When it is time to leave, be off without delay. Overstaying your welcome is a gross violation of good manners. Home is the place to do or talk as you wish, but without sin or words of pride. Consideration for others at a banquet demands that you be discreet and circumspect in the way that you eat, drink, and speak. Above all, give praise to your Maker, a reference to the ancient practice of saying grace or giving thanks at meals. See Deuteronomy 8:10.
Yeah, so to continue on here through verse 12, in the fear of God and not in senselessness. For all these things bless thy Maker, who satisfieth thee with his goodness.
Okay. There's just a little bit here at the end. The faithful and grateful believer acknowledges that it is the Lord alone who is the source of the favors, literally the good things he receives not only at the table but also elsewhere in his life. Even the pagan Greeks had the custom after meals of offering praise to their gods. See also Plato in his Symposium. Yep, that's accurate. In verse 13, Ben Sira manages to combine such Hellenistic partying with his own religious inclination, although Greeks also praised their gods at the end of a feast. He demonstrates astute insights about proper social conduct in the advice to go home promptly, even if out of courtesy the host invites you to stay beyond the appointed hour. Ben Sira's knowledge of natural phenomena.
Don't have too much fun.
Mm-hmm. The association of thunder with previous lightning or hailstorms leads to unsupported claims about popular approval of modest persons. The key to this statement lies in one's support group. Ben Sira's fellow scribes would probably have praised modesty. They certainly would not have approved of drinking contests like those in Greek symposia. See also Isaiah 5:22 for similar language. For the perils of drunkenness were well known to the author of Proverbs. So there's that.
And then here's another section in Australese. It's just titled Contrast. He that seeketh God receiveth discipline, and he that seeketh him early obtaineth favor.
So 5 variants in the Hebrew of verse 14 yield virtually the same idea, that whoever seeks God submits to discipline, and the one rising early to pray enjoys divine favor.
The early bird gets the worm.
Yep.
Praying at sunrise was an act of piety with enormous symbolic power, sanctioning a sanctioning of each new day.
He that seeketh the law shall gain her, but the hypocrite shall be ensnared thereby. He that feareth the Lord discerneth judgment, and causeth guiding lights to go forth from darkness.
Whoever fears the Lord will know what is right conduct. Out of obscurity he draws forth a course of action. The image of light in verse 16 does not necessarily indicate Ben Sira's familiarity with the lighthouse of Pharos in Alexandria.
Yeah, so apparently I should have a little note at the very bottom of that page. I probably circled it because it's a reference to Delilah. And we can look at Delilah's argument for that being the lighthouse. But then in the NIB, the New Interpreter's Bible, they pretty much just say that's not really necessary. Yeah.
And that was verse 16.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The pious person who fears the Lord will know what is right conduct because he finds it in the law. And 32:16b, obscurity refers to the uncertainties of life for which the law, like a beacon, provides sure guidance, a course of action. Perhaps Ben Sira alludes here to the great lighthouse of Pharos off Alexandria, which he may have seen.
Okay.
See Smend, page 292.
Yeah, Smend. So Smend was a huge name in the discussions about the documentary hypothesis. Yeah, one of the very early forerunners of it.
Well, I mean, so that's like a maybe this happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
Okay. They that fear the Lord discern his judgment, and great wisdom shall they cause to go forth from their hearts. The violent... Go ahead. That was 16. The end of 16 there.
That was the end of 16. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
The violent man shunneth reproofs, and wresteth the law to suit his need. Okay, so this... I'm guessing this is kind of like the fool, right? Because... at least from Psalms, when they're talking about fools, it seems like people who say they believe it, say they follow it, but really don't.
Something like that.
Yeah.
In verse 17, shun is weak for how a sinner treats reproof. The Greek implies that he deliberately and rudely pushes it out of his way.
Yeah, so they... Yeah, they pretty much don't listen to it. They don't take it as what Sirach thinks it should be taken as. It's just kind of once in a while, maybe when you feel like it. A man of counsel hideth not his understanding, but the proud and scornful man will not accept the law. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much what they're going after. Do nothing without counsel, that thou repent not after thine act.
As we saw at the beginning of Proverbs, where you should act with the counsel of wise people.
Yeah. Walk not in a path set with snares, that thou stumble not twice at an obstacle. Be not confident on a journey regarding plundering.
Trust not the road for bandits.
Oh, okay. And in thy paths be wary. In whatsoever thou doest, take heed to thyself, for he that doeth this keepeth the commandment. He that keepeth the law guardeth himself, and he that trusteth in the Lord shall not be ashamed.
So verses 23 to 24 apply the verb to keep, to observe, to the Torah, as well as to one's life. According to verse 23, guarding one's ways or deeds is tantamount to observing a statute, while verse 24 varies the verb with reference to Torah, but repeats watches over himself.
Yeah. And that is the end of chapter 32.
If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, subscribe, comment, share. I don't know, make an altar in a high place and
Devote it all to us.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what you really should do?
Smoke signals.
Yeah, smoke signals. What you should do is you should give some money to Ball here. Ball really likes money.
yes, and once Ball gets $666, Ball will be making us do Scientology.
Yep, that's exactly what is going to happen. He's going to make us get an e-meter, a thetan thing.
Yep.
And we're going to check our thetans and see who's the most clear and take it apart, do some stuff with it, show you how it works.
It's going to be a good time.
You okay?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Okay, so chapter 33 here. We're in the section titled The Providence of God. 33. No evil can harm the one who fears the Lord.
Now this has probably caused a lot of
Problems.
a lot of controversy going on with this one, right? Because the assertion in 33:1 flies in the face of reality, although many sages subscribe to this simplistic theology. Of course, if you remember people like Job, perhaps. David was a very pious person, right? But he made one little mistake, and that was it for him.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Moses.
Yeah, Moses too. Let's see what else we had there.
Lot's wife.
Maccabees.
Josiah. Yeah, in Maccabees, there's quite a lot of that going on.
Lot's wife.
Yeah. Josiah as well. You know, he was great, Josiah. But you know what? He died in the end anyways.
Hagar.
Yeah.
She didn't even do anything wrong.
No.
Who's the lady that turned to a pile of salt because she looked
That was
back?
Lot's wife.
That was
Lot's
Lot's wife? Okay, I thought that.
Mysterious, unnamed lady.
Yeah.
Salt lady. She's salty. Oh, yeah.
I'm sure she is.
Yep. Through trials again and again, he is safe. Whoever hates the law is without wisdom and is tossed about like a boat in a storm. The prudent trusts in the word of the Lord, and the law is dependable for him as a divine oracle.
Yes, so by the divine oracle, he probably means the Urim and Thummim.
Ooh.
Yeah, when the priest throws dice to reveal the divine will. Of course, we can go back to 1 Samuel for that. This practice had ceased by Sirach's time, but the language illustrates the traditional faith dear to Sirach.
Wonderful. Prepare your words.
And there's actually a note about the boats thing.
Oh.
Yeah. So the description of sinners as a boat without a rudder tossing at sea in a tumultuous storm occurs widely in ancient ethical teachings. Cross-reference James 1:6.
Yeah, well, it shows that they're powerless to do anything.
They can't do anything.
You know that reading
The
rainbow
storm
thing
is
where
too
they're
powerful.
like, you could do anything?
Yes.
Yeah, you
No.
can't. That's a lie. They lied to you.
Can't.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in a boat without a rudder in the middle of a storm on the ocean.
Not going to go well for you, probably.
Yep.
Use your built-in paddles.
Prepare your words and you will be listened to. Bind your training to your person and then give your answer. Like the wheel of a cart is the mind of a fool. His thoughts revolve in circles. Like how...
They go in circles, but they don't go anywhere.
well, you can prove that God exists because the Bible...
Oh,
and you can
yeah, I mean,
prove the Bible's true because God.
I haven't seen anyone seriously use that argument.
I've seen people use that argument.
The only I've run into stuff that was similar to that, but not quite like that. Okay, so someone once told me that the Dead Sea Scrolls prove that Moses existed, and I'm sure they had no idea what the Dead Sea Scrolls actually were. So I was like, where did you learn this? Those are dated to 200 BCE, at the oldest. How could they possibly prove that Moses existed? And they were like, oh, well, I guess we'll have to look back into that. And I'm like, yeah, whoever told you that just straight up lied to your face.
Yeah. Like most religious groups.
It happens a lot, yeah. It was a couple of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh.
I really like talking to them.
You know, it's a shame. They're so indoctrinated.
I agree. It is a shame.
They're like way more indoctrinated than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And the thing is, at least from my interactions with them, maybe it's because, maybe there's some bias here, right? Because from my experience, they are generally nice people.
Yeah, they're nice people.
Yeah, and the reason I say there could be bias is because maybe they're just sending out the nice ones because the other ones are assholes. So there is that. But yeah, they're generally nice people from the interactions I've had. So it's it just really sucks.
Yeah. It's a shame. And their thoughts revolve in circles.
Yeah. In fact, one of my favorite things is how Watchtower puts out those booklets, magazines, stuff like that. I actually brought one here. I had it on the show for an episode, I think, just to talk about it. When they quote the Bible to make their biblical arguments, they do it wrong. They're misquoting, or they're simply just taking things out of context.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I didn't even go to arguments about the ontology of the whole thing. I didn't care about that. I'm like, hey, this book that you are giving people to read is misquoting your holy book. Maybe you should stop handing this to people.
Yeah. Well, did they?
No, they didn't.
Of course they didn't.
Even though I came with so many references and so many citations.
Yeah, well, they probably don't get to decide what they hand out. Anyway.
Yeah,
That
is a good point.
decision's made by one of their superiors in the pyramid.
Yeah, but I just wanted to plant the seed, at least get them to it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not, but the thing is, that's something I don't like about a lot of Christians is that they don't understand their own holy book, or even they don't even attempt to.
Right.
They
there was a study that came out in some country that said that over 90% of the Muslims in that nation didn't understand Arabic. So, but the chanting is all done in Arabic, and very few people actually read their holy books. No matter what culture you're in. I've met a lot of Christians who have read Genesis and part of Exodus
Well, let's be fair here. At a point in Exodus, it gets so dull when it starts talking about the building of the tabernacle. Like, I can't really blame them for stopping.
Did Justin buy the book?
No, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
We don't know.
I don't think so.
They
I mean, I don't know.
arrived yet.
It may have been Justin. I guess I don't know. But yeah,
Let's continue.
I posted about it on Twitter.
Yeah, let's continue reading.
Yeah.
An unscrupulous friend is like a distracted stallion that neighs no matter who the rider.
Hey.
Stallion.
Why is one day more important than another when the same sun lights up every day of the year? Ooh, that's bad. What about the day of rest? That's
Well, I mean, if this is the sun lighting up every day of the year, that's not really.
yeah. But within the Jewish tradition, one day is more important than any other day.
Right, but the sun
every
is still the sun.
Yeah. And there's nothing new under it.
Yeah.
By the Lord's knowledge, they are kept distinct. Among them he designates seasons and feasts. Some he exalts and sanctifies, and others he lists as ordinary days. So, that was like a rhetorical question at first. He's not like asking you. He's like, well, here's a problem and here's an answer. Right? Certain days are more important than others because God did it.
Yeah.
What a
That's just
we
how
still
it was
get
divided.
that
Yeah.
argument today. God did it. Well, that's just the way it is because God did it.
That does happen a lot. I've seen it less, at least in at least online.
Yeah. Anyways,
Because like I feel like after over 10 years worth of debating on this platform, I feel like most people have like at least developed their arguments a little bit.
a little bit.
Yeah.
I've seen even G-Man's been doing a little better. A little
mean,
better
yeah,
than
the thing
he
is-
once did.
I mean, the thing is we keep challenging each other, so we like have to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike those damn universities when they wouldn't let atheists become professors at their institutions, so they couldn't even have the conversation.
Right.
Oof.
Tell me when you get to the end of 15.
Okay. So too all people are of clay. For from earth humankind was formed, yet in the fullness of his understanding the Lord makes people unlike. In different paths he has them walk. Some he blesses and makes great. Some he sanctifies and draws to himself. Others he curses and brings low, and expels them from their place. Like clay in the hands of a potter, to be molded according to his pleasure, so are the people in the hands of their Maker, to be requited according as he judges them.
So
I'm not there yet, but
sorry, I actually did have a
oh, you have something for verse 13?
yeah, actually.
Oh,
So this kind of brings into question the whole free will thing, right? Because we're talking about God just doing bad things to some people, good things to others. So Erdman's notes, similarly, all humans come from the ground, created from dust, according to Genesis. Then God handles them according to his desire, treating some well and others badly, molding them like clay in the hands of a potter. God's works come in pairs and opposites, but this does not mean God predestines humans. He gives them the ability to choose for themselves good or evil. Well, the thing is, maybe their decisions to do good and evil are still theirs, but the amount of influence that just if God is constantly treating a person poorly, just for whatever reasons he has to do that, like they're probably going to be more likely to do things poorly, to be worse people.
punishment isn't a very effective conditioning methodology.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
That's it. No more streaming privileges for you two.
no.
As evil contrasts with good and death with life, so are sinners in contrast with the just. See now all the works of the Most High. They come in pairs, the one the opposite of the other. That's the end of verse 15.
So this idea of constitutive pairs goes beyond Kohelet's teaching of a time for everything under the sun. In this section, Ben Sira probably responds to Jewish Hellenizers who doubted the special place of Israel in the divine economy.
Oh.
I was about to say, is this some kind of Lao Tzu compressence of opposites thing? Now I am the last to keep vigil, as one gleaning after the vintagers, since by God's blessing I too have made progress, till like a vintager I have filled my winepress.
Yeah, the image of filling his winepress suggests success in learning Torah.
Take notice that not for myself only have I toiled, but for every seeker after guidance. We're in a new part here. It's still the same chapter. We're on property and servants now. And by servants, I assume that it means slaves.
Yep. So there is a note here. So I'm assuming that you're just about to start verse 20?
Verse 19.
Verse 19. Okay. Well, yeah.
Offset by one.
No. Listen to me, leaders of the people, rulers of the assembly. Give ear. Wow, how Roman. That's like straight out of Shakespeare. Leaders of the people, rulers of the assembly, give ear. Oof.
Yeah.
Now I'm in verse 20.
Okay.
Let neither son nor wife, neither kindred nor friend have power over you as long as you live. While breath of life is still in you, let no human being take your place.
There is quite a bit here, just like in general. So this next whole section, this is labeled here part 4, and it expands from 33:20 through 39:11.
This is part 6 in the Anchor Bible.
Oh, never mind. It is part 6.
Wow.
Damn Roman numerals. So between introductory and concluding units, one finds quite distinct treatments of several topics of interest to sages generally, and some sentiment specific to Ben Sira's own day, but until then foreign to wisdom literature. So there's going to be some new stuff here. And tell me when you get to the end of verse 24.
Yield what you have to no one else, lest then you must plead for supporting yourself. Better that your children plead to you than that you should look to their generosity. Ben Sira is just like, taxation is stop.
Well, yeah, also that kind of, suggests that, that implies that there was no, like, will. Like the will that you're writing when before you die, that wasn't like a normalized practice yet.
Keep control over all your affairs. Let nothing tarnish your glory. When your few days of life reach their limit, at the time of death, distribute your inheritance.
Yeah, there it is.
Which is, if ideally when you're going to die and you're like, yeah, you get this, you get this, you get this. But,
we kind of get that, remember in Genesis at the very end there?
Yeah. But there's also rules for inheritance in the Torah.
True.
So, that would already be handled, right? And if it's handled by the state, you don't really need a will. I don't see the state getting involved at this point, given the size of...
Yeah.
It would be a pain. Fodder and whip and loads for an ass. Food, correction, and work for a slave. Make a slave work and... Oh, wait, which verse did you want me to...
24.
Oh, wait. Okay. I skipped over that verse, actually.
Oh, okay.
Keep control over your affairs. Let nothing tarnish your glory. When your few days of life reach their limit, at the time of death, distribute your inheritance. Oh, yeah, I did read that.
Okay. So the advice in 20 through 24 to hold on to one's possessions until just prior to death may have been prompted by pious Jews who gave away their wealth in the interest of acquiring credit with God for performing deeds of kindness. Acquiring credit. The unfortunate consequence of such generosity in impoverishment that placed unnecessary hardships on family members of the charitable individual carried with it an embarrassing need to request assistance. Yeah. So, yeah, they don't really like asking for help, but are glad to help people. It's really weird how people are like that.
Yep.
Well, not everyone, but there's a whole mentality of it and a cultural one, yeah.
And while we read about slaves here, keep in mind, those in the audience, that this is only in the Catholic canon, and it's still in the Catholic canon. The Catholics, for some reason, decided that this should be in their Bible. So,
I mean, there's some wise stuff in here, but it really just seems like common sense.
yeah,
The wise stuff.
not like Thomas Paine
And it's
common sense.
and it's nothing like Kohelet. That was great.
Okay. Make a slave work, and he will look for his rest. Let his hands be idle, and he will seek to be free. Yoke and harness are a cure for stubbornness, and for a refractory slave, punishment in the stocks.
So there's quite a bit here. So Ben Sira's advice to keep slaves busy assumes that an idle mind is the devil's workshop, but the principle can be pressed too far, and Ben Sira cautions against harsh treatment. Beyond that is the demeaning use of stocks and chains for unmanageable slaves.
Force him to work, that he be not idle, for idleness is the teacher of much mischief. Give him work to do as befits him. But if he fails to obey you, load him with chains, yet never lord it over any human being, and do nothing that's not just.
Oh, okay. Yep. I like how that's all in one section. I like how that's all there. Do nothing that's not just, but also
Throw chains on a guy.
Force this guy to
Slaves.
work, and if he fails to obey you, chain him up.
yeah. But don't
Don't do anything unjust.
that would be just rude. Don't be
"Hey, man,
rude to
sorry
your
for the
slave."
inconvenience, but that's the role. Whoops.
If you have but one slave, treat him like yourself. You would miss him as though it were you who was lost. If you have but one slave, deal with him as a brother. Your life's blood went into his purchase. If you mistreat him and he runs away, in what direction will you look for him?
So because you have but one slave, you should be particularly generous to prevent that slave's displeasure and to assure that he or she will not run away. And then the remark that the owner purchased the slave with his own blood, you got to that right? Yeah, must be understood figuratively as representing one's life savings.
Yeah, okay, so the last poem of the section offers advice to the householder who has only one slave. For the order of the colon, verse 31, there's some notes, but if, as a less affluent Jew, you have but one slave, you would be well advised to treat him like yourself or as a brother. Verse 31d may be translated literally, for you have need of him as you need your soul. The meaning of this is this. Since you have purchased your only slave with your life's blood, you should treat him kindly in order to ensure his faithful service to you. Only in this way can you get your money's worth out of him. In other words, your own self-interest should motivate you to be good to your slave as you are good to yourself.
What a just view.
If, however, you mistreat him, then he may run away. Then where will you look for him? For he's gone forever. Indeed, according to Deuteronomy 23:16-17, it was forbidden to return a runaway slave to his master. Moreover, the slave had the right to live unmolested in any community he chose. Thus, to lose a slave because you mistreated him could bring you personal and economic misfortune. The relationships between masters and slaves were complex in that day. The slave was considered part of the family household and apparently could voice his opinion.
Yeah, but he could also be passed down.
He could also rise to power. See Proverbs 19:10, 22:29, 30:22, Kohelet 10:7.
Wait, I'm pretty sure those were like, not about them rising to power actually, but I'm pretty sure those were them. Like that was the author using it,
especially in Kohelet.
Yeah, like
bad reference. We just read it.
that is what they were doing. What those authors were doing was showing like it would be just as horrible. Like better a slave ascend to power than this other thing happened. Like that's the point.
Yeah.
So bad job there.
Yeah. A Jew could become a slave through carelessness in managing his affairs, but prisoners of war constituted the largest source of slaves.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the end of the note and the end of the section.
Yes, it is. Wow, that's a big book. Big, beautiful book. That's also a big book. Less beautiful. You've seen the cover on that.
So beautiful.
Yeah. So gorgeous.
What are we doing here?
All right. Well, we're actually done with the reading.
Yep.
Yeah. So it wasn't too long of a show today, but soon,
But you learned how to treat your slaves according to the Catholics.
according to Sirach, because
which is only in the Catholic canon.
Sure,
and therefore, according to the Catholics.
But also, you could just point out the fact that Exodus has stuff about how to treat your slaves, and that's also in the Catholic canon.
Yeah, but Sirach isn't in the Jewish canon. Now, we read Exodus, and it's like, this is how to treat your slaves according to the Jews. But
this is also a Jewish guy.
Yeah, but it's a Jewish guy whose word is only preserved in one biblical canon, which is held by the Catholics.
Well, in that high regard is in that high regard is all other texts. Sure, yeah.
Wow.
As the divine ones.
Like, what I mean
inspired.
by according to the Catholics is that if they're the only ones who consider it part of the canon, and they still do, then presumably their attitude is still favorable towards the content of the book.
Yeah.
And so they're the only ones right now who say this is how you should treat your slaves. And I mean, unless you have like individuals who are like, Sirach was the shit, man. But I don't see that happening very often.
Well, we're definitely, well, soon we're going to have, that Sirach scholar on. So we're going to learn a lot more about Sirach, his world, things that influenced him, stuff like that. Probably a lot about the textual history as well. Very excited for that. I'm also very excited to get all those books in the mail, because that was a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff I'm going to need for the historicity of Abraham video. Because, boy, that is a large project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm about 4,500 words into the Quran video script, so that's coming up soon. I also contacted some ex-Muslim YouTubers who are, at least one of them is willing to help me out. Maybe we'll get more later who might be interested.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Try to get Aaron on, maybe.
Yeah, you should contact.
Yeah,
well, after we start.
Yeah. Either way, thank you everybody for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the stream. Drop a like if you haven't, because it actually really helps us out. Share, subscribe if you haven't, all that classic good stuff that YouTubers ask for. Yep. But also we got some stuff going on. We got a Patreon.
Yep, and if you donate $1 a month, you can get all of our video scripts
for $1 a month. That is crazy good.
It's like
value.
Having a library at your disposal.
Damn straight. For what, $12 a year?
And if you want a physical
tomes
book,
of information,
a physical book that you can add.
In fact, multiple physical books in the future.
Yeah. You can become a $5 a month patron.
And if you want shirts, you could become a $10 a month patron.
And then you get entered into a raffle every month.
Yeah, our monthly t-shirt giveaway.
We spin a wheel.
Yeah, we do. We spin a wheel. Right on the show, you see it spinning, and then it lands, and then yeah.
Yep.
That person gets a shirt. Obviously, that's how that works.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
you could be on this show
for $50 a month.
Yeah, you could be on this show. You could be on Atheist Sunday School. Yeah, there's that stuff. Let's see what else we got. If you don't want to do the whole monthly thing through Patreon, you could get a shirt on Teespring.
Yeah.
Or you could join the legendary crew and get something off of our wish list. Link is in the description. Lots of books on there that will help us with videos, help you get more content.
Yeah. And we're approaching 20,000 subscribers.
Yeah, we are getting there.
We're almost there. We're just teetering along. So if you guys want to help us out.
And I should mention that once we hit $200 a month on Patreon, we will be starting production of the God sitcom.
Yeah, which is going to take a while to
make. Which, by the way, just so you know, we have the story arc written for it already, and it's looking real good.
We have a rough skeleton, and it looks cool.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while.
It will, but you know what? I think it'll be really good. Yeah. Anyways, what else we got going on?
We got a show on Sunday that we're going to see you on.
See you on
Sunday.
See you next on Sunday.